Hello and welcome to BYJU'S Exam Prep IAS. A very warm good morning to everyone. I hope all of you are doing good. I welcome you to today's session of the Hindu Newspaper Analysis. This is the place where every day at 10 a.m. we analyze the most important news stories from the Hindu newspaper from both the mains and the prelims examination point of view. I also hope that you have made it a habit to at least write some answers to the questions that are given at the end of the session. I know many of you have been attending the daily quiz that we have on our Telegram channel based on the articles that we discuss. Just in case you have forgotten or you don't know about that, please make sure you become a part of our Telegram channel. The link for that is also given in the description of the video. As soon as the session comes to an end, we have a daily quiz on our Telegram channel which you can go and attend. Before we begin, there is an important announcement for all of you. On 19th of August, that is Saturday at 6 p.m, we have an extremely important workshop specially designed for those who are planning to appear for the 2024 attempt. This workshop will be regarding how to make the best use of the newspaper, how to extract information from the newspaper in the most efficient way possible. It's a live workshop. It will be held on the BYJU'S Exam Prep app, not on YouTube. So make sure you have downloaded the BYJU'S Exam Prep app. If you have not done so till now, please do that. Attend this workshop live. You get a chance to ask whatever questions you want to the faculty as well. Do register for that. Again, the link for registration will be given in the description of this video. These are the topics that we have taken up for today's discussion. Total of 7 topics. We'll start our discussion with the data privacy bill, which has been under discussion for a long time now. In the past couple of years, the government of India has made multiple attempts to introduce our digital privacy bill. The bill will seek to ensure that our data is not stolen, our data is not shared without our consent. Finally, in this session of the Parliament, the government of India was successful in passing this bill. However, there are still a lot of concerns about this bill. The author here in this article gives a negative point of view, gives a critical point of view about this law, saying that this law is still far from perfect. This law still needs to be changed. Second thing that we'll be discussing is how the government of India is planning reforms in the criminal law. As you know, the government of India is planning to overhaul the IPC, the CRPC and the Indian Evidence Act. All of these are the benchmark and the backbone of the criminal justice system in India. The government of India is overhauling them, defining multiple different types of punishment, defining what are the different types of laws, also increasing or decreasing punishment in certain laws. Then we'll be discussing how the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change made a U-turn. How? A few months back, the Ministry of Environment had announced clubbing of multiple organizations together, and now they have said that we will not do that. We'll be discussing what the decision was and why have they taken a U-turn. Then we'll go to Bihar, how Bihar government's plan of a caste-based census is facing legal challenges. As you know, the government of India at the center level has refused the demand to conduct caste-based census, after which the Bihar government wanted to conduct the census in their own state. Now, Supreme Court is hearing this petition. They will hear it most probably tomorrow, whether this caste-based census in Bihar should go on or not. From the prelims examination point of view, we have a few news stories. First, the Prime Minister in his Independence Day speech announced that the Vishwakarma scheme will be extended to artists as well. Some details have come out about that. Then the Center and the World Health Organization together will be launching the Global Initiative on Digital Health. It will be done during the G20 year, that is this year itself, in Gandhinagar, Gujarat. In the end, we'll be discussing how there's a new app now that can help you catch supernova explosions. So we'll be discussing what that app is, what is supernova in simple and short terms. Let's begin. The first article is about the recently passed law that is about the data privacy in India. Now, let's take a step back and let's see what exactly is this issue. For a long time now, there has been a lot of debate about data privacy. For example, when you give your data to Facebook, Instagram, you upload something, You check in that I am at this place, I'm taking a flight from here to here, I'm eating at this restaurant, I'm eating this food, I'm with this friend, etc. All that data that you submit to the social media website, that is your personal data. However, there are allegations that these websites, and not just these other websites also, misuse your data. I'll give you one more example. When you go to shop at any mall right now, any restaurant, you go and eat food, when you ask for the bill, they will ask you for your phone number. They won't tell you the reason. You are not gaining anything out of it, but they still ask you for your phone number. What is your phone number? You don't think twice about it, you give your phone number. And then you wonder, how am I getting so many calls for credit card and loans and life insurance? Because the phone number that you are openly distributing to shops, to restaurants, to websites, etc., that is now, or that has been marketed all around. This data is stolen. This data is sold in the market at a very heavy price. The government of India does not want that because this is our private data. To protect that from happening, the government of India has finally passed the Digital Personal Data Protection Law. So right now we have the Digital Personal Data Protection Law. The problem here is, as per the author, the government itself has not taken enough steps. For example, the author says that while the law may be very strict on private players, it may be very strict on social media websites, let's say Facebook, Twitter, or X, whatever you want to call it, but government's own entities are not really a part of this. I'll give you a few examples. The author here says that almost all of us had to download the Arogya Setu app. Remember the Arogya Setu app, which was in fact made compulsory if you have to go to public places. If you had to go to a shopping mall to watch a movie, you had to show the Arogya Setu app. If you had to go to any restaurant, any mall, you had to show the Arogya Setu app. However, the question the author is asking here is, did Arogya Setu app actually help anyone to prevent COVID? No. This was just a way for the government to get your data. And what happens with that data, no one knows. Recently, and we did discuss it a few weeks back, if you remember, recently there was a data leak from the CoWIN portal as well. Remember? The CoWIN portal, which has information about all of us who booked our appointments to the CoWIN portal to get COVID-19 vaccine, that data magically appeared on a Telegram channel. Thousands and lakhs of people's data was leaked. There was a data leak from SBI, State Bank of India. So data leak is not just a problem in the private sector. Data leak is also an issue in the government sector as well. The problem with the current law is it gives an exemption to the government organizations. The government of India also has the power to exempt other organizations also that they want. This is what the author does not like. Author says that you have to have the same kind of parameters for private players and for the government entities as well. And only then, in true sense, we would have the data protection law. The example of Arogya Setu is written here. The example of COVID that we just discussed a few years back, that we just discussed a few weeks back. There is one more example that the author here gives. See, when you say that my data is being stolen, the data is not just about what you upload on Facebook, Instagram, etc. Data can be any other information about you. For example, the government of India increasingly is focusing on the smart cities mission. We are making sure that there are CCTV cameras all around. People are getting filmed without even them knowing. Now the question is, what happens to all that data? What happens to that video that is made in a public place? There is no clarity on that. The question is, after these CCTV cameras come in, after you are videographed, do you feel safer in your cities or no? The author says that no one feels safer. It is just additional data that we are giving to government, just additional data that we are giving to government agencies. What happens to that data? There is no clarity on that. The government is even trying to build national automated facial recognition system. The government is building this system so that they can facially recognize anyone. Now, how does the government justify all of these things? Mostly the governments justify these things in the name of national security. The government says that we need CCTV camera footage. The government says that we need your facial recognition, we need your biometric data so that we can identify who is a terrorist and who is not a terrorist. The problem is, in the name of national security, when the government justifies something, you can't really argue against the government. Remember this Pegasus issue that came out just a few months back, that the government of India is spying on a lot of people from the opposition, the government of India is spying on the judges also. Remember all that controversy erupted and then everyone forgot about that. How does the government justify that? The government justifies it in the name of national security. That in order to keep the people of India safe and secure, we have to collect all their information. But the problem is, how do you justify if the same data is being misused? Because at the end of the day, today there is nothing more precious than data. Data is something that drives even the biggest decisions, not just in the government but even in the private sector. I'll give you a very simple example. Let's assume that I run a company that makes a motorbike. Or let's take a real example. You would know that Bajaj and Harley Davidson are coming together or have come together in a joint operation, and they are producing a bike for India. A lower version or a cheaper version of Harley Davidson. Now, they want to do some advertisement for people to get to know about the bike, so they want people to be excited about the bike. Now, when they advertise, they obviously want those people to see the ad who are more interested in buying a bike. For example, they would not want that ad to be shown to my mother or my grandmother or my grandfather, because they are not their audience, they are not their market. Their market is those people who are interested in bikes. So what will the company do? Bajaj or Harley Davidson will go to Facebook. They will ask Facebook that, do you have data of those people who love biking? Facebook will say, I have all the data. Facebook will say, I have data of those people who keep on posting pictures of their bike, so I know they are bike lovers. I have data of those people who keep on going to solo trips on bike, so I have that data also. Facebook will make sure that the ad of the motorbike is visible only to those people and no one else. This is where Facebook earns its money, by targeting advertisements. This is a problem because our data that we post on Facebook is being used by Facebook. Now, this is the problem here with the data protection thing. With the government also, government having a lot of data is not really desirable, because at the end of the day, government is also run by people, by individuals, and they might also misuse this data. Recently, we had the registration of Birth and Death Amendment Act, which also talks about having a national database linked with Aadhaar, meaning that the government now has all the data about us from the beginning of our life till the end of our life. In fact, the problematic thing is, recently the National Economic Survey said that the government will try to achieve $5 trillion economy target by 2030, and 1/5 of it will be done by the digital sector. The government may even achieve this by selling our data. This was mentioned in the National Economic Survey, which becomes a very, very problematic thing when the government itself is not respecting the data privacy of its individuals. The other problem, as I said, government has the power to exempt any company or any organization from this law, allowing them to use the data, and the government agencies themselves do not have any restrictions on how will they use the data. It's similar to a law that exists in China, which is called the National Intelligence Law of China. But again, we don't want to go on the same path as China does. We are a very different kind of a country, which is why there is a cause of concern about this law. Now, I am sure you already have read about this, you're all intelligent people, but just in case you did not, these are the important provisions of the act that has been passed in the parliament. It will be applicable to all the data that is collected online and even offline as well. As I said earlier, it's not just about the Facebook photos or Instagram posts. It's also about you giving your phone number at a kirana store. You going to a restaurant, eating food, giving your phone number, giving your email ID. Even that data is covered. Even that cannot be stolen or that cannot be shared. Your consent will have to be taken before your data is being used. So let's say Facebook earns through ads. So they have to use your data at the end of the day. They can use it, but before that they have to ask for your permission. If you give your permission, then great. If you don't give your permission, then Facebook will not be allowed to save or share your data. You can also withdraw your consent or permission at any time. Also, there are obligations on data fiduciaries. What are data fiduciaries? So basically, Facebook or any social media organization or social media companies, these are called data fiduciaries. What do you mean by this? Let's say someone posts a false news on Facebook. Someone puts on Facebook that a person on the base or region is being killed. Many people see that post, they circulate the post, and that is how violence spreads. You see what is happening in Manipur. In Manipur also there was a fake photo that got circulated that a woman has been killed, has been burnt alive, that led to a lot of violence. It turned out to be a fake photo. That is why the governments usually ban internet in sensitive areas. Now what happens in this case is, Facebook will say it is not our responsibility because we did not post that photo. We are just a platform. Punish the person who has posted the photo, don't punish the fiduciary, don't punish the platform. However, the government says we will not punish the platform if the platform also makes enough efforts. What efforts? Efforts to check the accuracy of the data of any information given to you. You should also make efforts to provide safeguards for data breach. You should also inform the Data Protection Board of India in case data has been stolen. Only when these obligations are fulfilled by social media enterprises, there will not be any action taken against them for any post made by anyone else. Also, bill allows transfer of personal data outside India except to those countries which are restricted by the central government. The central government can tell in which country will our data will be stored, in which country our data will not be shared. There are exemptions given by government. There will be a body established, as we just discussed, the Data Protection Board of India. It will be a body appointed for a period of 2 years. Members will be eligible for reappointment. They will look into the working of this law, making sure that the law is implemented properly. There are also heavy penalties that will be imposed for non-obligation. For example, 200 crore for non-fulfillment of obligation for children, 250 crore for failure to take security measures, etc. These will be imposed in case the law is not followed. That was our first article. Now comes the article number 2. This is based on one of the biggest and one of the most significant reforms that the government has introduced. On the last day of just concluded session of the Parliament, the Government of India through the Home Minister announced that the government plans to overhaul 3 of the most important criminal laws in India. That is the IPC, the Indian Penal Code, CRPC, the Code of Criminal Procedure, and the Indian Evidence Act. These are the laws that form the backbone of the criminal justice system in India. They talk about different types of punishments to be given for different types of crimes. For example, crimes that are so much in the news like sedition, etc. All these are a part of the IPC. Crimes such as, for example, Section 377. When it used to exist, it used to criminalize homosexuality. All these are a part of these laws which have, or most of which have a British era origin. The Government of India is planning to overhaul them and bring in new laws. Since it's a humongous task, it has not been done immediately. The Government of India has given the draft to the committees. Now the committees will discuss, and most probably in the next session, when the winter session of the Parliament comes in, we might see the passing of these laws. These 3 will be replaced by new laws called the Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita. It will replace the IPC. We'll have the Bharatiya Nagrik Suraksha Sanhita, and then we also will have the Bharatiya Sakshya Sanhita. In a total of 160 changes will be seen here. Total of 160 changes will be seen, give or take. We will have to see the final shape once the bill passes. Usually when the government is in complete majority, you will see that the bill will pass in its exact form. But just to be sure, I would advise you, rather than starting to remember every point of the bill right now, wait for the bill to be passed, wait for it to become an act. Once it becomes an act, then you can discuss and remember some of the important features. Don't start remembering right now, because from a bill to an act, there can be some changes in between. Maybe some parliamentary committees will suggest changing certain things. Maybe in the discussion, the government changes something. Although when we have a complete majority government, usually we do not see changes, but just in case, to be safe, I would really advise you that rather than starting to remember all the provisions right now, just wait for a few months, let this pass in the parliament, and once it passes in the parliament, then you can start remembering the important features of this act. Now, there are some very interesting things that have happened here. The government, for example, has adopted technology in a big way in the criminal justice system. How? There is a talk about e-courts, there's a talk about video conferencing, there's a talk about people giving evidence in the form of video. I'll give you a simple example. When there is a case of a sexual assault on a woman, that woman, if she has to appear in the court to give testimony, it is a very horrifying experience for her. A lot of uncomfortable questions are also asked to her. So now the provision is that rather than coming to the court, she can give her testimony in the form of video, and that will be considered as an official testimony. There are newly created offenses. There's a proper definition of terrorism that is given. Organized crime definition of mob lynching has also been given properly. There are important features. For example, it now sets a time limit for the mercy petition to be heard by the president and by the governor. As you know, president or the governor do not have a time limit within which they have to decide a mercy petition. There are even loopholes due to which even the decision of the president can be challenged in the Supreme Court. But now the new version takes away all of that. It cannot be challenged in the Supreme Court. There is a time limit that is set for governor and the president. But again, my advice is, don't start remembering it right now. Let this pass in the parliament. Let's see the final version of it, and then you can start remembering it. Now, as per the author here, this is a good step to begin with. This is a good step in the sense that there has been a lot of talk about bail being extremely difficult in India, prisons being overpopulated in India. All of that can happen, or all of that can change if the implementation of these new laws is done perfectly. The problem with most of the laws is the laws are usually good on paper. It is the implementation of the law that matters. Over here also, how it is enforced, how do we ensure that the victims get what they deserve, how do we ensure that there's a time-bound manner in which the cases are heard, that will decide whether the law is successful or not. But no one would disagree from the fact that going away from the colonial legacy and making our own laws is indeed a good step ahead. These are the three important changes that have been made. The Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita, Nagrik Suraksha Sanhita, and the Bharatiya Sakshya Sanhita. All these have been introduced. We'll see now, after the standing committee discusses this, let's see what the final shape of these laws will be eventually. Now, I'll give you again a few examples of what the new changes are. Again, my suggestion is wait for this to be passed in the parliament. There are new laws, separate provisions for mob lynching. There's a proper definition given. There's a formal provision for zero FIR. So zero FIR exists even today, but there's no proper law about this. What is zero FIR? Let me give you a simple example. You might have seen this in many movies, etc., that when someone goes to the police station to register an FIR, the police says that the crime happened somewhere else. This is not in our area, not in our jurisdiction. Go to that place where the crime happened. Now the provision is, there is something called zero FIR. You can register your FIR in any police station. They will then transfer it. This is called zero FIR. It does exist even today, but even now, most police stations don't really go ahead and register FIRs, because see, think of it from the police station point of view. From a police station point of view, how does the government decide if a police station is good or bad? They decide on the basis of number of pending FIRs. The longer the number of pending FIRs, the worse is the police station basically. So you have to make sure that we don't have enough FIRs registered, and that is how you can actually ensure that the police station comes in a good rank. So many police stations actually avoid filing the FIRs. Then it also talks about digitization of the entire process, provisions for penalizing the rape of a woman on the false pretext of getting married or getting a job, etc. All of these now are a part of the new law. It also talks about videography of the statement of victims of sexual crimes, as I said. Then punishment for all types of gang rape will be 20 years or life imprisonment. There's a charge sheet time period that has been given. Judgment has to be delivered 30 days after conclusion of hearing. That is also important. What happens in today's case is, many times a court hear the matter and then they reserve the judgment. Reserve the judgment means we have concluded the hearing, now we will give you the judgment or announce our judgment after some days. And they have a very long delay in between that. For example, today 17th of August, they will say we have concluded the hearing, but the final decision we will give in December. So there is a long delay for no reason whatsoever. Here also, there's a time limit given that after the hearing is completed, within 30 days you have to give your judgment. These are the important changes that have been introduced. Coming now to the third article for the day. The third article is based on the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change taking back a decision that they took recently. What was the decision? Let me first tell you that. So recently they took a decision to merge the offices of multiple organizations. For example, Forest Survey of India, or I'll just write it here. They wanted to merge the offices of Forest Survey of India, National Tiger Conservation Authority, Wildlife Crime Patrol Bureau, and the Central Zoo Authority. They wanted to merge all of them and bring them under the Ministry of Environment. The ministry has now taken back the decision. They have said, okay, we will not do that. Why? Because there was criticism from different parts of the country. Environmental conservationists, people who have been working in the field of environment, said that this is not a good idea. Why were they doing this? The reason behind the government's or the ministry's decision was they thought that the problem of lack of funding would be addressed. We would have better coordination also. However, the decision taken by the ministry has now been invalidated. These will not be merged. There is a problem, or there was a problem with the merger decision, because many of these organizations work in a different manner. For example, the National Tiger Conservation Authority. They have the power to oppose any forest clearance or infrastructure projects for diverting to forest reserve areas. On the other hand, when they make this kind of a demand, let's say the Zoo Authority would not agree with this, let's say the Forest Survey of India will not agree with this, because all of these have their own different mandate. All of these perform their different functions. At many places, these can go opposite to each other's mandate. And that is why it is not a very good idea to have a situation where you merge all of these organizations together. Also, the ministry recently took another very interesting decision, which again was not liked by many people. The ministry recently had merged the Project Tiger with Project Elephant. I don't know how many of you have actually read about this. Project Tiger, Project Elephant have actually been merged together. This also has been criticized by many environmental conservationists. Many experts say that the Central Zoo Authority is a very different kind of an authority. It is just looking into the functioning of the zoos. On the other hand, the Forest Survey of India is a scientific body. It deals with the forest data. The National Tiger Conservation Authority looks into the Project Tiger. So there are very different kind of functions that they perform. There was no logic of bringing them all together. There is no logic of making sure that their funds are collected. Just because the government wants to save some money, does that the government does not want any of the roadblocks in clearing of the forest, doesn't mean that the government should merge all of these together. As I said, the government of India had recently planned to merge Project Tiger and Project Elephant. That also has raised multiple objections. Why? The reason being, Project Tiger is considered as a much more important project. Project Tiger has been given much more funding. Project Tiger has been given much more importance even at the international stage. You keep on hearing that these many tigers are left in India, these many tigers are left in India, but you will never see government saying these many elephants are left in India. Why? Because again, the level of protection given to tigers is much, much more. Tiger reserves, in fact, are recognized under Wildlife Protection Act of 1972, while the elephant reserves have not been given this recognition. So even that decision has not gone down well with people working in the field of environment. All of this is being done in the name of saving some money. In fact, there is one more decision taken by the ministry. They have said that Bangalore's regional office or Bengaluru's regional office will have jurisdiction over 3 different states and union territories, including Karnataka, Kerala, Goa and Lakshadweep. All of these being done in the name of saving some resources. The merger of Project Tiger and Project Elephant is a big news. The reason for merger is rationalization of funding and making sure that the conservation efforts become stronger. That is the government's version of it. However, people don't agree with this. Project Tiger is given much, much more importance. It was launched in 1973 by the Prime Minister Indira Gandhi. Tigers, as you know, are under Schedule 1 of the Indian Wildlife Protection Act. That is given the highest level of protection in India. They are considered as endangered under the IUCN Red List. There are also an Appendix number 1 of CITES. That is an agreement that talks about the transportation and international trade of endangered species. On the other hand, Project Elephant was launched in 1992. It's just a centrally sponsored scheme for the welfare of captive animals, to address the issue of man-animal conflict and to protect the elephants. Again, not that elephants don't deserve protection or tigers don't deserve protection, all of them do. But just by merging different schemes, thinking that you would be able to save on some money, that is not really the best way forward, considering that every single species have different habitat, every single species have their own requirement, and you cannot just randomly merge these thinking that it would actually help you save money and resources. The next article is from Bihar, that is a caste-based census or survey in Bihar. The idea is simple. Many political parties have been wanting that at the center government level we should have a caste-based census in India. Basically, the census that we have in India is not based on caste. The only caste data that we have in our census is the scheduled caste. So scheduled castes are recognized in the census. Apart from that, there is no other caste-based data that we get from our census. So what is the issue with it? The issue, if you look at the politics of it, the issue is basically related to OBC reservation. Let's take a step back and try and understand the problem here. You all have read about the OBC reservation in India in jobs and educational institutions. This was a result of the recommendation given by the Mandal Commission. Remember, Mandal Commission was formed 1979. It gave recommendations about how to improve the lives of OBC population in India. Now the Mandal Commission, when it gave the report, the Mandal Commission had said that 52% of India's population is OBC. Please understand this. Mandal Commission said that 52% of India's population is OBC. This data, this number is debated even till today. because there was no identification, there was no basically data based on which they decided that 52% of India's population is OBC. Many people said it's a random number they have come out with because there is no caste-based census in India. In the census, your caste is not registered. So how can the Mandal Commission say that 52% of India's population was the OBC? There has been criticism of that number even till today. That is why many parties have been demanding that if you really want to ensure that proper OBC reservation is given, we should have exact number of the OBC population in India. But that has not happened so far. That is why there have been demand that we should have caste-based census in the central government level. But the central government has rejected the idea. They have said that we will not have that. So Bihar said, okay, we will have it in our own state. Now the question is, census cannot be done by a state government, right? Census is done at an all India level. So what is Bihar doing? They are not calling it a census. What are they calling? Look at the headline. They are calling it a survey. It's just a word play, nothing else. It's kind of a census only, but just because census officially cannot be carried out by the state government, so they are calling it a survey. That we are doing a caste-based survey in our own state just to see the population of different castes in our own state. Although it is not happening at the center government level. Now, the state government of Bihar has been doing this in two phases, the first phase and the second phase. In the first phase, there was information on socio-economic conditions that were taken. What is the government's argument? The government's argument is if we have better data about the caste in our state, we would be able to make better policies. They say that our policies, our schemes will be much more targeted. We will be able to make sure that those people who deserve the government benefits actually get the benefit. There were many people who did not like the idea, thinking it will lead to divide in the society. So a challenge was done in the High Court of Patna. However, Patna High Court eventually gave a go-ahead to the Bihar government. Now the matter has gone to Supreme Court. Supreme Court will be hearing the matter tomorrow. This is why it is in the news. The Bihar government is saying that the survey report will be expected in September, a year before the 2024 general elections. Now at the center government level, why does the center government not want it? The interesting part is, center government in 2011 did have a socio-economic caste census. In 2011, we did have a socio-economic caste census. However, the government has never released that data. The government has never made that data public. Why? The government said that data had many flaws. So there is again a question mark over the government's intention. That there was a caste-based census conducted in 2011, but the data has still not come out. The government itself says that there was some flaw in the data. In our history of independent India, we have never had a caste-based census. The caste-based census, the last one was only 1931. In today's day and age, the census that we only have scheduled castes that are listed, but OBC, etc., other castes are not listed here. Now, why has this been challenged? People are saying, number one, conducting a census is the prerogative of the union government and not the state government. How can the state government do this? That is why Bihar is saying we are not conducting a census, it's a survey. It's a survey, so they are finding a loophole. Secondly, there are concerns about data security and privacy. Is the state competent enough to save and safeguard such a huge data? How will this data be protected? What if it is leaked? What if the privacy of the data is compromised? There is no clarity on that. Does the state government have the power to appoint district magistrates to collect the data for the census? There is no clarity because again, census is the prerogative of the central government. These are the questions that the Supreme Court has to answer, and most probably the matter will be heard tomorrow. Now, there are arguments given on both sides whether we should have a caste-based census or we should not have a caste-based census in India. There are arguments against caste-based census. Why? There is no proper definition of caste as such given. Everyone has a different definition of caste and which caste they belong to. It may result to underreporting due to some political parties. Some political parties may not want to give out numbers. Let's say if a political party thinks that the data will anger their own supporter base, it will not be very good for our own voters, they will not release the data. The data may be manipulated, and there are ethical concerns as well that it may lead to discrimination in the society. On the other hand, the biggest argument in favor of having such a census is it will help the government in its policies and planning. Only when the government identifies which caste is facing the most discrimination, only when the government identifies people of which caste are the poorest, can they actually target their policies for them. Their affirmative action policies can only be best targeted if they really know who is at a disadvantageous position. These are the arguments in favor of caste-based census. It's not happening at an all India level. So far at least, it remains to be seen if it happens later on. But in Bihar, the government has almost concluded this exercise. Now we come to prelims examination point of view. A few news stories here. First one, the Prime Minister in his Independence Day speech, as you know, announced a new scheme for artisans. That is, the Vishwakarma scheme that exists, it will now include the artisans as well. So basically the government said craftspeople will also be held with loans at a lower rate of interest. The government will help them for buying their tools and making sure that they have proper access to the market. What are the details of this scheme? The scheme will have a budget of about 13,000 crore rupees. The government has chosen 18 traditional trades under this scheme. What are the trades? Carpenter, board maker, armorer, so who make armor, blacksmith, hammer tool, locksmith, etc. All of these have been chosen, like barber, basket, broom maker, etc. All of these will be covered under the scheme. What are the advantages given to the people? Number one, they will be given PM Vishwakarma certificate and an ID card, credit support of up to 1 lakh rupees and 2 lakh rupees at a concessional interest rate of 5% from the banks. There will be skilling programs as well to give them better skills so that they can make better products, like basic and advanced courses. They will even get a stipend of 500 rupees per day, and they will be given skill training from the government agencies. They will even get support of up to 15,000 rupees to buy modern tools and make sure that their craft improves over time. About 5 lakh families will be covered in the first year of the scheme and 30 lakh families over 5 years. Do remember, it's a 5-year scheme. Whenever you come across any government scheme from the prelims examination point of view, just remember a few things. First, remember about the implementing agency or the ministry. Ministry or the agency behind it, number one. Second, remember about the time period. Is it a 1-year scheme, 5-year scheme, lifetime scheme? Like for example, Manrega is a lifetime scheme. There is no end to that. This is a 5-year scheme. Third, the target audience. Who is it targeting? For example, old age, people in the rural areas, scheduled caste, minorities. For example, in this case, it is the craftsmen. So what is the target audience? And in the end, what is the advantage given? Means, what is the scheme offering? Just remember these 3 or 4 things and you will be set for your prelims examination. Whatever government scheme you come across, I would suggest you to make a table kind of a thing. In this form, ministry or agency, what is the time period, what is the target audience, and what is the advantage of the offering. It would be very easy for you to revise once the exam is pretty near. Another news is that the central government, along with the World Health Organization, has decided to launch the global initiative on digital health. It will be in Gujarat's Gandhinagar. This announcement, in fact, was made in the month of May, if you remember. In the month of May, our health minister had announced that this initiative will be launched in the ongoing G20 summit in Gandhinagar. What exactly is this? What is the idea? As the name suggests, the idea is simple: to have as much sharing of information at a global level about health emergencies, to make sure that there are investments coming in the field of health research. There is enough data that is shared by nations around the world, and even the private sector comes in and helps in health sector. That is the entire idea. The WHO website, if you go to that website, it defines this as a network of networks approach. That is, before the world faces another pandemic like the one we had in COVID, we should be ready to collaborate with each other. It will help as a platform for investment, ask tracker to understand who needs what kind of products. It will also have a lot of resources in the form of library of digital health platforms. This is an infographic I've taken from the WHO website. The WHO website says that this is what the platform will be like. It will contain information about which country has what kind of requirement. For example, some countries have a requirement of malaria vaccine. Some countries have a requirement of some other kind of medicines. Some countries have a requirement of, let's say, old age support, etc. What are the resources that the country has? What are the transformation toolbox means? Any new strategies that the countries have adopted, and exchange of knowledge will also happen. All of these will be a part of this platform. As per the WHO website, these are the expectations of launching this platform. So they expect that transparency will be increased. There will be much more collaboration, sharing of information. There will be knowledge exchange. We will have government to government collaboration around the entire world. We will also be able to get technical and financial support on global strategy for digital health, and the countries will take their own ownership of digital health implementation as well. These are again the outcomes that the WHO expects from this initiative that will be launched in Gandhinagar, Gujarat. The last article for today is from Science. It's about a new app, and you should be proud. It has Indian contribution as well. A lot of Indian students from IIT Gandhinagar are working here. An app that can actually help you detect events such as a supernova. The app, if you want to download, is called Zarth, Z-A-R-T-H. This is a kind of a gaming app. I don't know how many of you actually played the Pokemon Go game. It's based on a similar kind of a version. The app allows you to track a lot of these events in our galaxy, and you can see if you are able to capture them happening live. As you know, a lot of smartphones around the world now are so powerful that they allow you to take photos of the moon. In fact, there are phones that are sold as their USPs that they can click a very clear photo of the moon. So the pocket devices that we have are so powerful that you don't need any extra additional device to now see these kind of activities in our solar system. Even the apps such as the Google Sky Map, which is doing the same kind of work as was done by telescopes a few years back. It is described as a handheld planetarium for your own Android device. I would suggest you just download the Google Sky Map app and see the amazing things that it can do. It can help you locate and identify different types of stars, planets, nebula, enormous clouds of gas and dust, etc. Remember the game that we used to play when we were kids? We used to look at stars and try to see which constellation is it, try to match the constellation that we see in real life with the books, try to see which star is it, is that a planet, etc. All of that now can be done with these kind of apps. Similarly, we have NASA's free smartphone app also that allows you to do similar kind of things. Now, what is the new app on which the article has been written? This is called Zarth, Z-A-R-T-H. It stands for ZTF, Augment Reality Transient Hunter. ZTF here stands for Zwicky Transient Facility. It is a robotic telescope observatory in California in the US. It has a very powerful telescope. It inputs and feeds all the data to this app, using which this app can actually give you the proper location of supernova, flaring stars, white dwarf binaries, etc. All of these can now be identified just with the help of your smartphone. I hope all of you know what is supernova. Supernova is nothing but an explosion of a star. It is the largest explosion that you can see in the space. These are usually of two types. They are basically, first is binary star system, and the second one is at the end of a single star lifetime. So binary star means it's a set of two stars. When one of the stars, that is a carbon oxygen star, it steals the matter from the other star, and then the white dwarf has too much matter and then it explodes, resulting in a supernova. Secondly, when there is a single star, it runs out of its nuclear fuel, it can't generate any more energy. That is when it explodes eventually, leading to a supernova explosion. Because when it has ended up using all its fuel, it cannot withstand its own gravitational force, it is not able to sustain, and that is how the explosion occurs. All of these can now be detected with these apps. I would highly urge you to see if you can use and enjoy these apps as well. This brings us to the end of today's session on the Hindu Newspaper Analysis. There are a couple of practice questions right here in front of you. Try and write these answers. You can use our answer writing portal as well, the link for which is again in the description of the video. On this portal, you can write your answers, check each other's answers as well, give each other feedback, learn from each other's mistakes. I'll see you tomorrow at 10 a.m. with the next session. Till then, have a good day ahead. Bye-bye. Jai Hind.